Hi, I'm Dr. Eileen Anderson, Director of the MA program in Bioethics and Medical Humanities at Case Western Reserve. And I am joined by my amazing colleague.
Hi, I'm Dr. Leah Jeunnette, and I'm the Assistant Director of Education in the Department of Bioethics.
We are so happy to be with you here today to tell you a brief overview about why this program is so unique and amazing, and hopefully answer any questions.
So I'm going to start with kind of a basic question I think anyone, whether they're interested in our master's program or just kind of in general, always asks us. I think it's a question you commonly get, I commonly get. What is bioethics and medical humanities?
That is a great question, Dr. Jeunnette. We do get that all the time. At the heart of it is the question of values in medicine, healthcare, questions of health and illness, behavior, and policy questions, distribution of resources, but we're always in bioethics and in medical humanities, we are trying to identify, analyze, and resolve value conflicts that happen in these realms of human health and illness. So in a way, we have all these amazing medical technologies, we have high-end medical practices. We have questions that come up that we all just dealt with, like vaccines. But figuring out what should we do with these technologies? What should we not do? How should we do it? How can we guarantee that we're holding various values such as autonomy or justice? Those are the questions. That's where we dwell. So sometimes it's in the questions of what should we do. Sometimes it's in the questions of what do people actually do. In medical humanities and in bioethics, we take a good hard look at actual health behaviors. What are people's beliefs about health and illness or medical treatment, and what are their behaviors? So for example, in a clinical interaction, you could have the best physician in the world with the best interventions and technologies, and if that person has a conflict with the belief system of their patient may walk out the door and not do a thing that they were prescribed, and then the health still suffers. So we're also kind of delving into those meaning and behavior questions along with the values.
It's such a hard thing to kind of wrap your brain around, that we may have the best technology, we may have access to kind of this amazing opportunity, but at the heart of it, you still have these conflicts that exist.
Yeah, and I think our pandemic has really illustrated this in a new way, because people, the question of, do I wear a mask or do I not wear a mask? What does that mask symbolize? What does it mean about me or my belief systems if I do or I don't? Similar about vaccines. So I think writ large, we have been engaging, locally, nationally, globally, with these kinds of questions that are so important. Who gets a ventilator? Who gets it first? Who doesn't? All these types of questions are the realms of bioethics and medical humanities.
So speaking of our program and kind of these questions that we wrestle with, what makes Case Western Reserve's Masters in Bioethics and Medical Humanities program so unique?
So it really is. It is a one-of-a-kind program that's been in development. It's one of the oldest programs in the country, and we reevaluate, as you well know, every single year. And we look at what is changing in the world, what is changing in education, what is changing in our students, what's changing in technology, and how can we keep it up to date. But I think some major aspects that make it so unique are, one, the diversity. And I mean that in a lot of different ways. We are a faculty of a diverse set of scholars from physicians to philosophers to social scientists and law professors and on and on. We're embedded as clinicians in hospitals. So we have a remarkable diversity across medical sciences, humanities, social sciences, and even arts and medicine. On our faculty, in our coursework, and built into our program. So students really get a wide-ranging exposure to ways to think about, understand, and communicate about health, healing, healthcare, suffering, etc. We also all those faculty and staff who interface with students in the program are renowned researchers, all of them, top-notch researchers, top-notch clinicians, as good as it gets. And yet every single person, and this is built into the fiber of our department, every single person is dedicated to student education. And so you see that in the teaching, in the mentoring, in the conversations that happen in the hallway or in a classroom or over a Zoom or over coffee now again, that there is a deep engagement with students through formal mechanisms such as classroom teaching or through participation in a research project, but also informal mechanisms. And that is something really unique for a top tier medical school. It's wonderful. We also have our student body is diverse in all kinds of ways. We craft a student body that is coming from all different perspectives, preclinical, going on to lots of other fields. They've majored in a huge array of different majors. They're coming in from all over the United States and even all over the world. Many different racial, ethnic, cultural backgrounds, different we have people from rural, suburban, urban environments. We have people who come from all kinds of different generational and class backgrounds, et cetera. So the diversity that is embedded within this program is one of the strengths, because you may be paired with someone who is thinking about the same problem that you care passionately about from a totally different perspective. So looking at it from clinical or policy, et cetera, there's many different ways that plays out in the educational program. The other thing that I would say is incredibly unique are our clinical ethics rotations. All of our students are placed in one of 4 major hospitals, 2 private and 2 public, abutting right around our university, where we have faculty embedded in these different departments. And our students are getting 80 hours of clinical ethics rotations each semester. So by the time they're done with the program, they've got 160 hours under their belt, usually 1 semester in a public hospital, 1 in a private, and they've gotten to see a wide array of specialties in medical practice and have this kind of amazing exposure. And I can't help but also mention that we have an incredible set of short-term study abroad programs. And I think we're particularly enthusiastic about those coming out of the pandemic, so that our students can travel to Paris or Amsterdam or Costa Rica or one of our amazing programs yet again.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said is so true. Our program is so uniquely positioned. We've been doing this for a long time, but we make sure every single year what works stays and what doesn't work improves and changes.
Yes.
And those study abroad, I think we're all chomping at the bit to travel again.
For sure.
So how can, studying bioethics and medical humanities, doing our program, help an applicant's career path, right? How does this work and help with that?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. And the amazing thing is, I often draw like an hourglass shape, right? Like we're bringing in students from all different perspectives with all different career goals. Then we have this intensive, if you do it intensively, about a 9-month program, and then they're going into all different careers, right? But for anyone interested in health, understanding and like those clinical rotations, like being in there on the ground and getting that kind of observation, understanding the clinical dilemmas and watching professional ethicists think it through, talk it through, and really you're in dialogue with them, bringing other perspectives to the table. That is something we hear from our alum, whether they are clinical or whether they are in some non-clinical role. That is something that they take with them for a lifetime. I think also understanding this wide diversity of skill sets, of perspectives, of disciplinary lenses, of methodological lenses is something that we hear from our alum as well. So let's say they go on to become a clinician, a doctor, a nurse, naturopath, dentist, something like that. They remember and know, okay, this we need to bring in a clinical ethicist. We want to look at the ethical problem, or we can bring in some tools from social science to understand why are we still having this problem, etc. So I think it gives people an incredible toolkit of ways of analyzing and solving problems for the rest of their career. It also, for our students who are non-clinical, so maybe they're going on to do health law and get a JD, or maybe they're going into medical sociology or medical anthropology or health psychology, having that experience in the clinic, those clinical rotations is so rich. And all of them who we keep in touch with certainly tell us that knowing what it looks like on the ground and knowing how they're like, we have joint programs too. So there may be MD, MAs, in their small group. And so they can hear how, again, someone who is in the trenches with a slightly different question, slightly different something at stake in solving this problem is thinking about it. And it helps them as they go on to their next career steps. Another amazing aspect of our program that is pretty unusual at the master's level in general is that our students are getting a substantial amount of hands-on practice. So not only being in the clinic, but many of our students are actually engaged in research projects. So they are learning research skills. They are practicing research skills. They may be publishing during this year or as a result of the work they did in it. They may be getting exposure at something like an IRB, an institutional review board, that is actually setting ethics policies and reviewing research proposals. So that experience is incredible and can really help people when they go on to their next career step. They already have done the skills that they need to bring with them into their career. And one of the most fun aspects to watch as a faculty member is the incredible networks that our students develop. So it's incredible the bonds that occur in this intensive year and the friendships and the collegial networks. But also our students become part of our alumni network, our alumni community, which most of them end up coming back and calling the alumni family. Which is over 1,000 strong. So when you have a degree from Case Western Reserve, Department of Bioethics, there is somebody out there who graduated from the program in your trajectory, in your career path that we can help you connect with. And our alums love to hear from students and younger alums to kind of talk about how the degree help them on their own path, or what to help them understand the path that they are walking down into their future career. So that's been an incredible aspect of the program also.
That's great. Yeah, the students love to connect with alumni. I always love seeing that kind of growth.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever heard of a story where someone shut a door. That door is always open. And it's delightful every time we can bring kind of multi-generational alumni back together. So you really, from the day you walk through the door, you're joining a strong network and a knowledge base, really. It's just incredible. So may I ask you some questions?
Sure.
If someone is interested in applying to the program, what are the application requirements?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's an online application that students would fill out. And then they're going to include some basic materials. So things like transcripts, a resume or a CV, 2 letters of recommendation, a statement of purpose. Test scores are optional. So if you don't have a GRE or an MCAT or an LSAT, that's okay. We don't actually require those. And then if students want to reach out to us directly, we can provide them an application fee waiver. So they just email us bioethics@case.edu and we can provide them that application fee waiver. It's not a problem. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a fairly simple application. Yeah.
It's very straightforward. Who writes those letters of recommendation?
So we would encourage them to have at least one be a professor or an instructor, someone that kind of knows their ability from an academic standpoint. And then the second letter could be someone either that could provide a personal recommendation, a professional recommendation, or another instructor of some kind. But we would like one of them to at least be a professor or an instructor of some kind.
Awesome. Another question that I get about application materials is about the statement of purpose. So I would love to hear your thoughts on what should be included in that statement of purpose.
Yeah, that's a great question. So a statement of purpose, sometimes you hear it called a personal essay or a personal statement. What we're looking for is 1 to 2 pages. It doesn't have to be long, but really we're trying to better understand the applicant's interest in bioethics and medical humanities and how does it fit into their overall career path. So those are kind of the 2 things we're looking for. And when we say that we're looking for how does it fit into their career path, that can also include they're still looking for discernment in their career path. So they're still figuring it out. And we appreciate that transparency in that statement of purpose as well. So you don't have to have it all figured out in your statement of purpose.
Thank you. And I just got an inquiry. Someone was really interested in the program and wanted to kind of talk through, is it a fit for me with my credentials, my experiences, my goals? And I would say I welcome those inquiries.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm sure you get those as well. If somebody just wants to feel out, might this be the right program for me? Or can I get more information about the program? What should they do?
So email us. That's the best way to get a hold of us. Email us. The email address is bioethics@case.edu. I'm happy to set up either a phone call, a Zoom meeting, and if that doesn't work, we can just email back and forth. And exactly what you described, we can talk about, the applicant's kind of background, what they're thinking, talk through kind of their statement of purpose, essentially, for that applicant to kind of better think through, is this the right fit for me? And a lot of times that conversation provides a lot more confidence as they fill out the application. And so there's
a great way to say it.
Yeah. And so they feel better when they hit that submit button.
I love that. And when is the application deadline this year?
Yeah, so our final application deadline is always August 1st for a fall start date. So you always have to keep that in mind. In a general cycle, we have other like priority deadlines, but the final date is always August 1st. So I always encourage students, the sooner the better, because we're a rolling decision. And so when we get a completed application, we can make a decision, right, as those applications come in. But ultimately, that final deadline is August 1st.
Fantastic. And how would you direct people to find the website if they wanted to look for more information?
Yeah, so the best place to start is case.edu/bioethics. When you get to that homepage for our department, you'll see the master's program listed on that home screen, and then just start exploring the master's program. You'll see things like basic descriptions of the program. You'll see information about the curriculum, but you'll also see more information about the application process, links to apply. You'll see information about our faculty, our research. There's tons of things to explore, but I would start with just case.edu/bioethics.
That sounds awesome. And I'm just going to mention briefly kind of the nested nature of what happens if you come as a student. You would be based in the Department of Bioethics, which is within the amazing School of Medicine at Case Western Reserve, but you're also part of graduate studies and the larger university, which is actually 8 distinct schools. We are very lucky that we have faculty embedded across all of those schools, along with where we are located in the wonderful, vibrant city of Cleveland. We're abutting hospitals, cultural institutions, restaurants, sports, theater, on and on. So that's really something worthwhile to poke around about on the website as well. And there is, within the School of Medicine, there's some assistance in kind of setting up housing and all of those nuts and bolts as well.
The best way, if you ever have any questions about anything we've talked about, navigating the website, application questions, just email us, bioethics@case.edu. We're constantly checking the email, keeping up with it, setting up one-on-one appointments. That's the best way. We are happy to meet with you, happy to have a conversation, and just engage with you however we can.
That sounds awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending this time to discuss our program, and we look forward to hearing from you, prospective applicants.
Absolutely. It was great to talk with you, Dr. Anderson.
Always a pleasure, Dr. Jeunnette. Thank you so much.